All of a sudden one day he came to office and he said, I want to go to America. I said, are you crazy? Why do you want to go there? What will you do? Who will look after you? What will you do there? So he said, kya karu, jana. I said, all right, I'll make this arrangement, then you go. So when the arrangement was made, he was in Bombay. I made all this arrangement with the captain and the ship went.
In 1970, Srila Prabhupada returned to India with some disciples. When Srila Prabhupada arrived in Bombay, you could say he took Bombay by storm. People were astonished that Americans and Europeans and Orientals could totally accept Krishna consciousness and Vedic culture. I'll never forget the program at Chowpatty Beach that was organized by the Bharat Sadhu Samaj. There were thousands of people. I could never imagine that so many people could gather in one place to hear spiritual discourses. And we started the kirtan sitting, and gradually all the devotees stood up on the stage and began to dance at the front of the stage. Pretty soon, the whole group of us were chanting and dancing through the audience, thousands of people. And they were standing up, they were swaying on their feet, and they got completely captivated by the whole mood, and the whole atmosphere was completely transformed.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama.
One of our close friends and supporters, Sadaji Whitlal, suggested that we should put on our own pandal. I mean, for us to put on our own pandal then seemed impossible. But Srila Prabhupada encouraged us. By the end of the publicity campaign, everyone knew about the program. And as the final climax to the publicity, Shyam Sundar arranged a blimp that was fixed to the site at Cross Maidan in downtown Bombay, and that hovered above the city, you know, Hare Krishna festival across Maidan. And on the opening night, thousands of people streamed into the pandal. And every night we had about 20,000 people. And on the weekends, maybe 30,000. And it was a tremendous success. Then one evening, Srila Prabhupada had a ceremony on stage, a marriage. So the marriage featured Vegavan from Sweden and Padmavati from Australia. And they were married with a proper Vedic fire ceremony in front of 20,000 people. Srila Prabhupada declared, "This is the real United Nations." And the whole audience began to cheer and clap, thousands of people. Juhu was just a simple fishing village. There was one hotel there because of the beautiful beach, and there were two more under construction. And it was considered very remote.
The explanation of expert devotees is that Krishna was actually not absent from Vrindavan. He came back with Nanda Maharaj as promised. When he was going to Mathura on the chariot driven by a Krura, and the gopis were practically blocking the way, Krishna assured them that he was coming back just after finishing his business in Mathura. He told them not to be overwhelmed, and in this way he pacified them. We remember him playing in those places because he was constantly visiting them.
Therefore Mahabharata takes that this Krishna Lila is Maya. They are surprised how God can be affectionate like this. He is nirvika, without any attachment. They cannot understand this. Because he is playing exactly like human being. They think, he is human being, Maya, this is like Maya.
How wonderful it is that Krishna took in one hand the big heavy bow made of 3 joined palm trees and broke it very quickly. How wonderful it is that continually for 7 days he held up Govardhan Hill in one hand. How wonderful it is that he has killed all the demons.
Mahaprabhu Kirtana Nitya Gita Baditramadyanmana Sorasena Ramanchakam Pasutaranga Bhaju Bande Gurasi Charanarabindam Sansharada Vanalira Loka Pranaya Karina Ghana Ghanatyam Sapta Sakalana Gunarna Vasha Bande Gurasi Charanarabindam Sri Vigrahada Dhana Nitanana Singaratan Mandira Marjanado Sri Vigrahada Dhananitanana Singaratan Mandira Marjanado Yuktascha Bhaktangscha Nijanjatopi Vande Gurasi Charanarabindam Yuktascha Bhaktangscha Nijanjatopi Vande Gurasi Charanarabindam Samsharada Vadnalalila Loka Pranaya Karuna
After signing the sales agreement and getting possession of the land, Srila Prabhupada organized a huge pandal right on the Juhu land. And even though it was far from the city and not so many of our friends from the city came, but many of the local people came. And as part of the proceedings, Srila Prabhupada the cornerstone laying ceremony.
So, we selected this Bombay. Bombay city is the best city, most advanced city in India. And people are also very nice. They are religiously inclined. Therefore, I wanted to start this center, Bombay, for spreading this Krishna consciousness movement. Although there have been many impediments in my endeavor. Still, ultimately it is Krishna's business, it will come successful. So today, the foundation and cornerstone establishment was done 2 years before, but there are many, many impediments from the Asuric jana. Now somehow or other we have got little relief from such impediments. So we are putting this cornerstone this auspicious day, and I am very glad that you have joined us. So the mission is very, very authorized. Therefore, my request is that the inhabitants of Bombay, especially those who are our members, they will kindly take active part how to make this institution very successful in Bombay.
This land was called Nayarwadi. Now it is Hare Krishna land. One day Guruji was here. Myself, Walia and my wife was there in that room. So Walia said to Guruji that Guruji, Mr. Nair will not give you this land because he have offered by some hotel owner for 36 lakhs, and you are purchasing for 14 lakhs. And Mr. Nair has to pay so much income tax, so he must be change his idea, and he will give the land to that person who is offered for 36 lakhs. Then Guruji said, there is no matter if he don't want to give this land to us, that he must return our money. But I don't think that he can pay the income tax in this life. So Guruji went at the night to Sydney, and when we awake up in the morning, we heard that Mr. Nair's heart failed and he died.
At the second Bombay Pandal, Sri Kishore Kishori that were later sent to Chicago and installed there were the deities at the Pandal program. And on the last day of the Pandal, during the last kirtan, Srila Prabhupada stood up and began to dance. And of course, the devotees were always dancing whenever there was kirtan in Srila Prabhupada's presence especially. But when he stood up and danced, the devotees went wild. And then Prabhupada began to dance in a circle around the deities, Sri Kishore Kishori, and then the devotees were also dancing in a circle following Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Ainam Sai Kara Adhu Hare. Ainam Sai Kara Adhu Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, so, in the beginning, before the creation, God is existing, and after the creation, when the creation is annihilated, He will begin. This is called transcendental. The same cloth, but the tailor, according to the body, made a covering of this hand, and this looks like a hand. This covering of the chest looks like a chest. Therefore, the impersonal means the material covering. Otherwise, spirit soul is person. Let's say you go to the tailor, according to your body, the tailor will cut a coat. This coat, ingredients of the coat, the cloth, that is impersonal. But it is made like a person, covering of the person. In other words, the spirit soul is person. As much as God is also person. Imperson means the covering. Try to understand. The covering is impersonal, not the living being who is covered. He is not impersonal. He is person. Very simple example. The coat shirt is impersonal, but the man who is putting on coat and he is not impersonal. He is person. So, how God can be impersonal? The material energy is impersonal. That is explained. That is explained in the Bhagavad Gita. Maya tatamidam sadvam jagat abhakta murti. This jagat is abhakta, impersonal. And that is also energy of Krishna. Therefore he says, I am expanded in the impersonal form. That impersonal feature is Krishna's energy. So the material covering is impersonal, but the spirit soul or the super soul is personal. Any question in this? This is very intricate question, anyone, if there is any difficulty to understand.
Because I have heard so many of these so-called yogis in English about Gita or this and that, but they cannot explain. They have not even an inkling.
No, how they can explain?
They don't have an inkling.
They cannot touch even Bhagavad Gita. They have no qualification.
They have no understanding.
They are speaking of Bhagavad Gita as artificial.
Yes.
They cannot speak because the real qualification, as it is stated in the Bhagavad Bhaktosi, one must be devotee, then he can touch what is Bhagavad Gita.
Even in Mayapur, when we went to visit that time Sridhar Swami's ashram, and he spoke something in English, and some other man spoke in English, they cannot explain like you. You are the only one that when you speak this knowledge, it becomes immediately, enters into the ear and into the heart, and then it is realized.
Maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Vishaka, you think also like that?
Without a doubt.
Unfortunately, I am thinking this is American pains and pleasure. This is Indian pains. Pains and pleasure is the same.
Yes.
It is neither American nor African. Pains and pleasure is the same. So, as soon as this consciousness that I am feeling American pains, American pleasure, as soon as this is over, then we come to the original consciousness. Because consciousness cannot be American or African. If I pinch you, the pain felt by you is the same when I pinch the African.
Yes.
So therefore the consciousness is the same. Artificially we are thinking that American consciousness, African consciousness. Actually that is not the position. Simply this misunderstanding has to be cleared up. That is called Cetadarpana Marjana. Is it not a fact?
Oh yes, sure.
The consciousness of feeling pains and pleasure, can it be American or Indian?
No.
No, it is the same. Artificially we are thinking it is American pain or it is Indian pain. That is artificial. This artificial covering has to be removed. Then we come to Krishna consciousness. Feelings, consciousness is not American, African or Indian. Consciousness is the same. When you feel hungry, is that Americans feel a different way hungry? The African feels in a different way. The hungry appetite is the same. Now if you say this is American appetite and this is Indian appetite, that is artificial. So when you do not go to the artificial platform, that is Krishna consciousness. And that is explained in Narad Pancharatra. Sarvapadhi vinirmuktam tatparattena nirmanam. Rishikena rishikesha sevanam bhaktirishcha. When we become free from these artificial designations, American consciousness, Indian consciousness, African consciousness, there is no such thing. This is artificial. Even bird and beast, they also feel consciousness, pains and pleasure. Just like when there is scorching heat, you feel some pain. Is that American, Indian or African? Scorching heat is every feeling. If you say that I am feeling scorching heat American way, क्यों जी?
हाँ जी
ऐसा हो सकता है क्या?
नहीं हो सकता
Simply these are artificial.
हाँ
And everything is depending on consciousness. Everything depending on consciousness. Therefore, Krishna consciousness is the original standard consciousness.
In 1977, we organized the last public preaching program for Srila Prabhupada, the last Pandal program. When Gurudas Prabhu put on the first Delhi Pandal, he invited important persons from different fields to attend as chief guests every night and to speak. So we followed the same pattern now for Srila Prabhupada's last, what turned out to be his last public Pandal program. One evening, Srila Prabhupada had Swarup Damodar Das at the time give a presentation to the audience with slides and different scientific arguments in favor of the existence of the soul. Srila Prabhupada was so pleased with the presentation. As part of the last Pandal program in 1977, the Vaikuntha Players performed Ramayana, and the people of Bombay were overwhelmed. They had never seen such a professional quality performance with beautiful costumes, powerful acting, and the mood in the Pandal at the time was as if Sita and Lakshman and Hanuman and Lord Ram himself were personally present. Also during the last Bombay Pandal, Srila Prabhupada performed initiations, perhaps the last public ceremony with the fire sacrifice. And many devotees were initiated on Ram Navami Day, and many of them were given names related to Ram. So it was a very poignant moment when Srila Prabhupada left Juhu for the last time. And within our hearts, we all felt that he will not return. And then the car pulled out of the driveway and left Hare Krishna land. We were thinking, how is it that Prabhupada left before the temple opened? It's almost as if his life's ambition had been to see that the temple opened then. And somehow we came to the conclusion that Prabhupada wanted us to feel his presence even in his apparent separation. And we did. We all felt that Srila Prabhupada was present. And we think now, and we thought then, of Srila Prabhupada's own words of dedication to his spiritual master, that he lives forever by his divine instructions, and the follower lives with him.
बहुतुई जना निताई गौरचंद सब अवतार सारे शिरोमणि सब अवतार सारे शिरोमणि केवल आनंद कंद सब अवतार सरसीर मणि केवल आनंद कंद परम करुणा बहुदुई जना निताई
Gaurachandran Ramayam Tarer Siramani Ramayam Tarer Siramani Nitai Gaura Chandrayama Ramyavatare Sriramani Nitai Gaura Chandrayama Tare Sri